St. Lucia might be one of the most beautiful islands we've ever traveled to. Between the volcanic mountains, the rainforest, and some of the most dramatic coastlines in the Caribbean, it almost feels unreal at times. But it's also a surprisingly diverse island with a lot of different ways to explore it. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how we structured our trip from the moment we arrived to the moment we left, and share a few tips that made the experience a lot better. And for those of you that don't know us yet, my name is Joshua. That beautiful woman you see there is my wife, Lucia, and we are the Traveling POV. If you love to travel like us, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us to keep making the videos. Now let's get into it. The first tip actually starts before you even reach your hotel. When you land in St. Lucia, you can either take a car transfer, which can take well over an hour on winding mountain roads, or you could take the helicopter transfer. And if you can swing it, I highly recommend the helicopter. Instead of sitting in traffic, you're suddenly flying over the island, seeing the coastline, the rainforest, and even the Pitons from above. It turns what would normally be a simple airport transfer into one of the most memorable moments of the trip. And honestly, it might be one of the coolest ways to arrive anywhere in the Caribbean. And for tip number 2, stay somewhere central. For our stay, we chose an Airbnb in Marigot Bay, which sits almost right in the middle of the island. And I'll throw a map on the screen so you can get an idea of where it is relative to the rest of St. Lucia. One of the biggest advantages of staying here is location. You're roughly centered between the northern part of the island, where a lot of the resorts and activities are, and the southern part of the island, where you'll find the Pitons and some of the most famous scenery. So it makes exploring both sides much easier. Now, to be completely honest, we had mixed feelings about Marigot Bay. The bay itself is absolutely beautiful, and it's often called one of the most scenic harbors in the Caribbean. But the particular area where we stayed was a little difficult to navigate, especially with some of the steep roads and limited access points.
The video does not do the view justice. It looks so much juicier in person.
That said, the big advantage was price. Compared to a lot of luxury resorts on the island, staying here was significantly more affordable, which allowed us to spend more of our budget on experiences around the island. So if you're planning a trip, it's definitely something worth considering. Now for tip number 3, I highly recommend doing the Pitons nature trail. If you want one of the best views in St. Lucia without doing a full mountain hike, the Pitons nature trail is an incredible option. The hike itself is relatively short, around 30 to 45 minutes, but the payoff is amazing. From the viewpoints, you can see both Pitons, the surrounding valleys, and the Caribbean stretching out into the distance. It's one of those places where you stop for a minute and realize just how dramatic the landscape here really is. It's also incredibly affordable. I think we spent about $10 a person. Now, when we did this, it was actually part of a larger day where they also brought us to the drive-in volcano and the sulfur springs. One of the main things people do there is cover themselves in sulfur mud. We tried it, and honestly, it just really wasn't for us. The smell is really strong, and we didn't love the idea of walking around the rest of the day smelling like sulfur. But with that said, a lot of people swear by it for your skin, so it really just depends what type of experience you're looking for. And for tip number 4, charter a boat. One of the best things we did on this trip was chartering a boat for the day. St. Lucia looks amazing from land, but seeing it from the water is on another level. Cruising along the coastline gives you views of the cliffs, the rainforest, and of course the Pitons rising straight out of the ocean. You can stop to swim, snorkel, explore hidden coves, or just relax on the boat. And to charter this boat for the day came out to around a couple $100, which compared to other tropical destinations is very affordable. If you're visiting as a couple or with friends, this might honestly be one of the best experiences on the island. Tip number 5, visit Sugar Beach. One of the most famous beaches on the island is Sugar Beach, and it's easy to see why. It sits directly between the two Pitons, which means the scenery here is absolutely incredible. The sand here is bright and soft, and the water is extremely clear, so clear you can see fish. It almost feels like you're swimming inside a postcard. One thing that is interesting about St. Lucia though is the beaches vary quite a bit depending on where you are on the island. Many of the beaches closer to the Pitons, including Sugar Beach, tend to have darker volcanic sand, and that's because this is a volcanic island. But once you start heading north, you'll find beaches that look a little more like the classic Caribbean style, with long stretches of lighter sand and calmer water. So each area offers something a little different depending on what you're looking for. Tip number 6, jet ski or do water activities in the north. If you want something a bit more high energy, head up to the north of the island. This is where we went jet skiing, and it ended up being a ton of fun. The water here tends to be a bit more open, and you get these amazing views looking back toward the island while you're out riding. It's one of those activities that's just pure fun and a great contrast to some of the more relaxed parts of the trip. Tip number 7, walk through the Castries market. To get a glimpse of everyday life on the island, we spent some time walking through the Castries market. This is where locals come to buy and sell fresh fruits, spices, handmade crafts, and traditional food. This really allowed us to get an idea of everyday life here. You'll see vendors slicing open fresh coconuts, stacks of tropical fruit everywhere, and plenty of chances to try local snacks. It's lively, colorful, and gives you a much better sense of the culture of the island.
Smoothie. Very fresh. These smoothies,
so nice.
They hit.
And give us like a little ginger shot.
So good.
And for tip number 8, of course I have to touch on the food experience. So I will share 3 of our favorite bites from the entire trip, because food is also a big part of how we experience a destination. Now, to be completely honest, and it might just be our perspective, but we're from Chicago, which has an incredible food scene. So we may be a little spoiled when it comes to restaurants. And while we tried quite a few places on the island, there were really 3 meals that stood out to us the most. The first was Roots 2, which was actually featured on Netflix. This place focuses on fresh, locally inspired Caribbean cooking, and you could really taste the difference. And this was delicious. This was the best meal we had on the island, hands down. Another standout was Jetty Burger at Sugar Beach.
Yeah, let's see what's too. Patties look like they're cooked well. Wow.
It hits.
Patties are charged perfectly. It's almost like kind of like a smash burger almost. Pickle, hit at the pickle, delicious.
And finally, one of our favorite meals of the trip was at the villa at Marigot Bay. The view overlooking the harbor is beautiful, especially around sunset, and the atmosphere made it a really relaxing dinner spot. So while we weren't blown away by every restaurant we tried, these 3 definitely stood out to us. And one other thing, if you know us and you know my wife, you'll know that every country we go to, we've got to find a grocery store. So we did that, and in St. Lucia, the main store that we found is called Massey Stores.
What are you up to?
I'm shopping for a bunch of snacks, like some stuff that we just don't have in Chicago.
And so we checked them out, and we got a bunch of snacks, some to bring home to family and some to just try ourselves. Now for our last and final tip. If you're staying in Marigot Bay or further north on the island, I highly recommend taking the boat transfer back to the airport. You cruise along the coastline one last time, passing cliffs, beaches, and jungle-covered mountains before arriving near the airport. So instead of taking a car back, we took a boat transfer with Island Fun Tours. And you can also do this coming to the island as well. But honestly, it might be one of the best ways to end the trip. Now, if you made it this far in the video, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. We've left a bunch of links in the description, as well as a free St. Lucia guide. And as always, we're grateful for you. We hope you have a great adventure and stay blessed.